I'm Meredith. And listen, I'm just a girl, still stuck in my apartment, still looking for people to talk to because 2020, you know what I mean, right? But today I found someone who's helping us look ahead to 2021. Can you believe it's almost here? My guest is data analyst Danny Gaynor. He's worked with the Obama administration as well as Nike. He's also a friend of mine, and we're going to talk all about why 2021, get ready for it, is going to be the year of, you're not going to believe this, optimism. I know, right? But before we get into all of that, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Let's Talk About It YouTube channel. I don't want you missing new episodes. And if you hit that little notification bell right there, get this, you'll never miss a video. So go ahead, like and subscribe, notification bell. Danny and I will wait. Did you do it? Okay, great. Let's get started. Danny, thank you so much for being here. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to come on today. I had many other important commitments on CNN and MSNBC, but been able to carve out some
around for me. I am honored. I mean, if that doesn't make one optimistic for the future of how people are going to treat each other come 2021, I don't know what does.
Well, you know, I think that this year has definitely been a trying year, but what I'm to say the least, but I'm really excited. I think there's a lot of reasons for optimism, despite everything you're seeing in the news and perhaps even in your own mind. You're probably hallucinating at this point. You've been inside so long. So we're really excited to talk about why there's glimmers of hope in 2021.
Well, before we get to that though, we've had a year. It's been rough, but we have to still be able to look back and find the good. What was the best thing to happen to you in 2020?
Well, I got married on the dawn of 2021. I actually started getting married in 2019. Oh, no, sorry. 2020 was the year that I actually became married. I got married on New Year's Eve. Sorry. See, I'm about to hit my 1-year anniversary and I'm already in trouble, Meredith. But yes, I got married on New Year's Eve 2019, and into 2020, I actually became a married man.
Yes. Well, mazel tov to you on your near 1-year anniversary. Yeah, you celebrated when we were all like, 2020 is going to be a great year.
It was the last wedding ever. And if you think about some of the things, we had finger food and a buffet and people holding hands and dancing. And I think all that is out, or at least next time you do it, you'll be wearing some plastic gloves. So I feel very, very lucky.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, that was more along the lines of what my best day of 2020, also piggybacking off of you. Yeah. I was able to finally get married. We've talked a lot about this on the show, yes, but that would be the best part of 2020 for me. But it did likely look more along the lines of what we're going to see in the future with weddings, of not so much finger food, gloves, and masks, and everybody distanced.
Yeah, well,
for the wedding, we could talk about that later too.
You know, you are a media personality. You're a little humble. Every reader of the New York Times, that small little tabloid, where in the print edition, might I say, of your wedding. So mine did not get that kind of acclaim. So yes, we had a normal wedding, but yours, I think, will last the time capsule test. So
I hope so. All right. So as we look toward 2021, we are coming up sooner than we can all believe. Why is there reasons to be optimistic? Many people think, like, we see reasons why the pandemic is coming to an end and everybody's ready to just get this year behind us. But likely come January 1 and into 2021, we're not going to be in too different of a place. So why should we be optimistic?
No doubt that the start of 2021 is going to be a continuation of the tough times, the rough seas that we have surfed in 2020, no doubt. However, the vaccines are coming out. Multiple millions of people have been vaccinated so far, and we have good reason to hope that, at least in the US, where you and I are talking, that there's going to be an adequate supply to vaccinate even, the young, cool surfer bro, let alone people who are more at risk. So with that in mind, we looked at the data together and we came up with 5 key reasons, 5 big areas that you should be excited about, that you should be optimistic and look forward to in 2021, probably towards the summertime, June on. So maybe it's a more back half of 2021 look. But that said, we do think that good things are around the corner.
Okay. Kick it off, Danny. What's the first reason to be optimistic in 2020?
Well, I've got visual aids today. The
Excellent.
first one,
Excellent.
the first one is,
There,
oh my gosh, it's a
there we go.
dog and a girl. So the first reason to be optimistic for 2021 is that things are going really, really well for our canine companions.
Yes.
Yes, this year was more isolated than ever. I'm sure we all felt like Tom Hanks in our own embarrassingly close relationship with a volleyball or a pillow on our couch, some sort of inanimate object. But the fact of the matter is that humans crave companionship, and so it's only sensible that we turned to man's best friend.
Right.
According to the data from the American Veterinarians Association, the rate of pet adoptions went up substantially this year. 60% of the pets brought to shelters found a loving home. That is amazing.
That's wonderful.
And in places like New York City, in really densely populated urban environments, I believe your hometown, the rates of fostering pets have increased by like 90%. There were some shelters in New York City that saw applications to adopt a pet go up about 10 times the normal rate. So we're seeing this incredible, heartwarming surge of pet adoptions.
And we know that the pandemic was really only a win for the dogs, even those that were already adopting them this time, because all of a sudden they're humans, as they like to say. We're just magically home all the time. But I feel like even, that visual aid that you provided doesn't appear that pup is getting sick of the people anytime soon. But I feel like even after a year, these dogs are like, I think I could use today. Yeah, that one doesn't seem. I think that one has a pretty good lady human right there.
Good. That's Harold.
That's Harold.
The dog, yeah.
And who's the other person in that?
Okay, that's Harold and my wife. We don't have to pick. This isn't journalism. We can still have, yes. Harold and my wife.
Yes.
But it is interesting, Meredith, because on the whole, there's some data that shows that when people trial an adopted pet, when they just take him home for a weekend, that they don't necessarily keep them, right? So usually it's like a weekend thing, and only 1 in 10 trial adoptions ends up in a full-time live with me adoption for the pet. But during the pandemic, what we've seen is that skyrocketed. It's now about 4 or 5 in 10. So about half the time they get kept. So it's a huge multiple. And what's really, really cool is that this has health benefits too. So this isn't just good for pets, but this is good for people too. According to data from clinical psychologists that we dug up, interacting with a pet or an animal daily can lower your heart rate, lower your blood pressure, and up your cortisol levels while increasing the production of feel-good hormones like dopamine and oxytocin. So in fact, you're not just saving a pet's life, the pet is actually helping you live longer.
Well, that's like one of the biggest reasons I have to look forward to 2021. We'll introduce you all at a later point, but we are having a pet. We are having a pet.
Is this the official global announcement?
It's the official thing. We are soon going to be bringing home a little delicious cavapoo. We'll show you pictures soon. My friend Danny has seen the pictures. He knows how cute she is. Her name is Sadie, and she'll be with us soon. And we'll introduce you to all of to her then. But that's one of the big reasons that
I wasn't sure that I was allowed to, preempt the news about Sadie Cavapoo.
It's big news. Likely to be in the Times again.
I just want to let this global audience know that you have been putting in an incredible amount of prep. You are not somebody who's going to go to the store and buy dog food. You have literally a book specifically on Cavapoos that you are highlighting, and you have the entire thing.
Yes. I will give credit to my husband where credit is due. He has read the book and highlighted a lot, and I will then read the spec notes because I just feel like I know everything already about how to raise a dog. I might be overconfident, but
you know what? If adoption rates surged at this level and everybody's winging it and figuring it out, dogs are sort of like babies. You just sort of figure it out once they're in your life. I think.
All right. So other than dogs, which I'm like so excited about already, what are other reasons to be optimistic for 2021?
Increased pet adoption stretching into 2021, inarguable, a great thing and a thing to be optimistic about. But at a bigger level, that's sort of a micro thing. At a macro level, I think another reason to be optimistic
Okay.
about 2021 is
Solar
the
power,
environment.
the environment.
Well, solar panel is a representation of
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Um, 2020 was a great year for those with a green thumb or those who just like the polar ice caps. Carbon dioxide emissions in 2020 fell by 7%. That's the biggest drop ever, Meredith.
Because we
And
were all home, right?
yes, and only by getting emissions growth below zero can we realistically hope to avoid the worst effects of climate change. Now, to be fair, I do have a friend, his name's Andrew, and he made a good point, just like you did, that the decline in transportation activity, in us traveling, in us flying, in us going out, all that contributed globally to this 7% decline, which is still good news. It gave us a head start, the biggest ever. Now, the thought for 2021, the reason to be optimistic, Meredith, is that that's bought us precious time. It hasn't solved climate change alone, but it's allowed us to invest in advanced green, clean, renewable energy sources. Just this year, the two largest coal plants in the United States have shut down and more are expected in the future. And in 2021, energy created by the sun, by the wind, by the waves from renewable sources will outpace energy created from dirty coal plants for the first time ever. That's great news for those of us who love to go outdoors.
So rough being home and really difficult time for everyone and all the reasons that they may have been home, whether they hopefully people were working from home. But if they were out of work, I mean, we recognize that that is incredibly difficult and a hardship that we can't even qualify. But some good that came on the tangentially for the environment.
Right. And, you know, in fact, on the job creation front, investment in renewable energy actually creates more jobs than investment in dirtier burning energy. So, a natural gas or coal power plant doesn't actually create as many jobs as a wind power plant or solar power plant or a hydro. So, we're actually really excited about the job impacts there. And for those who lost their jobs this year, we can only hope that they get employment as quickly as possible, but looking long term, perhaps have the opportunity to pivot into high growth, high tech careers that offer great, sustainable, and good paying jobs. So there is a real human impact here as well as an environmental one.
Absolutely. Now, going from that, small business, that's been a boom, correct? As people have had to pivot from jobs they held during the pandemic or different types of lifestyles, we're seeing an uptick in small businesses and supermarkets.
Right. So we're optimistic about pet adoption, especially our favorite dogs. We're optimistic about the environment and climate change. I actually think 2021, to your point, Meredith, is a reason to be optimistic for small business. Now, anybody who's literally tried to walk to the corner store and seen it close down for the pandemic knows that 2020 was a tough year for small business. In fact, in the US as a whole, the data suggests that nearly a quarter, 25% of all small businesses remain closed. That particularly affected the travel and leisure section, whether you're thinking about boutique hotels or a safari company or that bachelorette in Tulum that you still regret going to. Those have been hit the hardest. But looking forward to 2021, we're seeing glimmers of hope for small business. I don't know about you, but back in high school, I thought the Cheesecake Factory and Applebee's and those big chains were the pinnacle of the dining experience.
Yes.
But today, and this is good news, shoppers feel the exact opposite. They want to support community storefronts. So, according to data from Shopify, we all know Shopify, half of consumers are looking specifically for independently owned businesses because they want to reduce their environmental impact, they want to support the local economy, and they want to, quote, buy unique products. And this isn't just your mom visiting her favorite stationery store anymore. It's also new shoppers, millennials who escape the city for suburbia. Almost 6 in 10 millennials are willing to shop at new brands or new stores for the first time. So that's good news for local small businesses.
Have you bought anything exciting from? I know you have a new house. You're a newly married man. Have you bought anything exciting from a small business or found, a new favorite store in you're a Boston guy in the area.
Yes. Well, I mean, I don't know if it counts as a new favorite store, but I have to say, since moving out of the downtown city area and moving suburban-ish areas, I have been blown away by the healthy food options in the neighborhood. We're talking acai bowls, eggplant sandwiches, special made hummus. So I have really enjoyed some of the more local markets. We go, in fact, all the time to a Greek market and get special feta. So I've been really excited with the more healthy Mediterranean options in my area. How about you? Have you been buying any sort of, tchotchkes or special artwork or even, a nice acai bowl?
I love my pizza place. I love my
There you go.
pizza place that's 2 blocks from me. So that's about as local as I can get. I mean, if I could move it into the floor below me, I would. But Delicia
Yeah.
on 73rd has my heart. That's my neighborhood pizza place. I will fight to the death of anyone who's claims there is better in
Right.
their neighborhood, in this neighborhood. And that's my local business that I probably, according to my clothes, may frequent too much, but that's a different story for 2021.
Well, I have to say, Meredith, what's interesting is you are sort of the embodiment of the other good piece of news when it comes to small business because you started something. You're a startup person. You started Let's Talk About It, the YouTube show that I subscribed to first and only in 2020. And what's interesting is that startups like Let's Talk About It are springing up. So yes, it's been a tough year for small business. Yes, we have a glimmer of hope because people want to shop locally. But what we're seeing is new business generation is resurgent. Since the end of May, there's been about 2.5 million new business applications. That's up 52% from the same period last year. And especially if you're in the southern US, we're talking South Carolina and Georgia and Florida, because that's where the greatest number of new business formations are happening this year. Some 40% of all new business nationally happened in the South. So I think, Meredith, we need to take a road trip when we can, get some sweet tea, some BBQ, some pimento cheese and grits, because the South is the startup hub, and we're seeing that spread across the country. I'll see you in Charleston.
Amen. That is where, I need to get back there. That is some good food. I will see you there, hopefully in 2021. Speaking of seeing each other, possibly one of the roughest parts of 2020, that we were all so isolated because of trying to stop the spread of the pandemic. Do we have any hope to be able to get to see our friends and family? Or at this point, I think people would just be excited to see that strange person on the street, but without a mask.
Yes.
Yes. And not through Zoom.
Right. Well, masks might not be going.
I would rather be doing this with you in person.
I know. I wish we could, be chatting in a hot tub or something. But let's talk about the data around families and babies. So when we initially talked about this episode, we thought there might be a baby boom. It turns out there's actually a baby bust. We thought that with everybody sitting inside, they'd have no other way to entertain themselves than no. But according to the Brookings Institute, one of the world's preeminent think tanks, 34% of American women have either delayed their plans to have a child or reduced the number of children they're going to have as a result of the pandemic. That seems like a long-term fact. But we are seeing glimmers of hope, reason to be optimistic in 2021. The first is that in the coldest places, we're seeing baby booms. So as an example, Dr. Maria Corgliano, she's an OBGYN in frigid Buffalo, New York, says that, and I quote, because
you
what do you have to,
with me right now?
yeah, she had a great quote on this. She said, because what do you have to do but eat and procreate? And she said that her practice is going to deliver 80 babies a month in 2021. Wow. That's up 30 babies. They usually do 50. The other thing, to your point, Meredith, is that while there might not be as many babies everywhere, despite the baby bust, we are seeing families getting closer and soaking in the moments that they might have missed due to business trips or endless hours in the office. Research of 2,000 American parents from an organization called OnePoll showed that from developmental milestones to just daily hearts to heart, 3/4 of the parents polled said that they otherwise would have missed important milestones in their children's lives that they got to see this year due to the pandemic. And 80% of those parents say they've enjoyed spending more time with their family. And 70% of them, this is what's really interesting, say that they've gotten into healthier habits. So they're trading hot dogs for acai bowls and couches for Pelotons. The data says that they've used their lockdown to improve their family's connectivity, communication skills, and witness major milestones. That's good news for families.
And 100% of them still say, I'm ready to go back to an office and see my kids just a little less. Just a little less.
Yes. No, the poll didn't say, do you want to tick it down by about 20%? But I assume the answer to that would be 120% yes.
Yes. Yes. Who are you most excited to get to see that you haven't been able to connect with in person during these last 9 months?
You know, we've got good friends. I'm based in Boston. I've got good friends from my time living out in Portland, Oregon. You know, that's geographically about as far as you can get away in the contiguous United States from Boston. So I'm really looking forward to seeing my friends, Ross and Katie, who are getting married, Eric and Natalie, Justin and Justine. Shout out to all of you. I know you'll be watching this because they are very, very geographically distant, but they're right here in my heart.
Do you think we'll all be able to get back together and maybe even without a mask come the summer? I'm dying for it.
I think the chances we'll be able to get back together in person are higher than the chances we'll be able to get back together in person without a mask.
Okay.
Right. So because of the progress of the vaccine, which got developed faster than any vaccine in modern history, there is some confusion about the degree to which you could maybe be immune to COVID, but potentially still spread it to folks who haven't had the vaccine yet. So I expect masks to stay for a little bit longer, but I'm really optimistic that we will be able to see our friends take that cross-country flight anytime starting from about June in 2021.
You know, I used to ask this question more in the shows, but I think what a small benefit of 2020 is a lot of us saw our credit card statements kind of shrink, you know, in most ways. But there's got to be things that you are dying to eventually see on that statement again come 2021, if not sooner. What's something you're most looking forward to when we're vaccinated, hopefully when the pandemic really starts to drop down?
There's my answer. So I am, as you said, extremely excited to see my friends, but friends, for all of us who have dispersed across the country these days, friends means travel. So what I'm looking forward to seeing, Meredith, is beautiful beaches and other amazing travel locales. And the good news is that when you look at the data, it is more achievable than ever. In recent months, airline ticket prices are about 30 to 35% lower than compared to last year. So the airline ticket average this year is about $340. Before the pandemic, average tickets cost about $475. So there's a big savings there if you're able to get out. And some people, of course, we have to acknowledge, aren't able to travel. There's a lot of risk out there. But looking to 2021, with more vaccines available and more precautions being taken, we think that airline tickets are going to be very, very affordable, allowing you to travel to beautiful locations. And the data is showing that people are catching on to this. This past week, we're filming this right before Christmas, over 1 million travelers were screened daily this past weekend, heading into the holiday week. That's the first time since March that the Transportation Security Administration saw 1 million travelers. And think exotically for 2021, Meredith. I want everybody out there not to go to Toledo or Cleveland or Albuquerque. Expedia found in their data that the most searched destinations for 2021 were Cancun, Riviera Maya, Playa del Carmen, Tulum, and other cool international locations beyond Mexico. So take advantage of those light airline tickets, get your friends on a plane, and go hang out on a beautiful sandy beach somewhere.
Yes, and there's a lot of safeguards right now. There's most airlines have no change or cancellation fees. So it's a good time to do it and just see what can happen in the new year.
That's right. Alaska, American, Delta, and United have all eliminated change fees. And there is nothing worse in the world, 2020 or otherwise, than paying $200 just to change your ticket. So that kind of flexibility, Meredith, we got to meet up somewhere. I don't know, Florida, somewhere else.
Maybe. That's that. I mean, it's not so exotic, but I could do some Florida. Sure,
We
sure.
got to get a start.
We'll
We got to
start
get a start.
small.
Bring
Well,
Sadie the Cavapoo wherever we go. If she can go to Tulum, we should do it.
she's going to be
Um,
very international and sophisticated, so I think it's fine.
So, yeah, to recap, I know 2020 has been one of the most trying years from a human toll, but we feel really good about 2021 because of the dogs,
Yeah.
because of the climate, because of the nature of small business being resurgent, because families are getting closer, and because friends are going to be more accessible with affordable travel than ever. So, for those 5 reasons, I am actually optimistic about 2021.
I'm on the train. I believe it. I mean, I tend to be an optimistic person to begin with, but that gives me even more hope. So, with all that optimism, New Year's question:
Mm.
what's your resolution?
Just keep this marriage going. You know, our honeymoon was the first time we had spent something like 14 consecutive days together. We normally travel a lot, but independently for work. So, going into the first year of marriage, as you well know, and then being locked into a 600 square foot apartment is definitely a unique trial that should stand the test of time. So, I'm just hoping to keep this thing going. How about you? What are you looking forward to in 2021? What are your New Year's resolutions?
I guess it's going to be like a good pet parent. I mean, Andrew, your friend, my husband, I think is preparing himself to be a little bit more of the strict pet parent, and I'm preparing myself to, melt in a puddle from the moment she comes home. So
Yeah.
I gotta I'm gonna try to be strong. I'm gonna try to be strict. I'm not gonna let her walk all over me, except if she wants to walk all over me, which might just be really cute.
You're going to be laying flat, horizontal on the floor with her
Yeah.
jumping all over you,
I have no power.
power over the cavapoo. You know, I think that I've heard this story about how dogs think they're the lead of the pack, and then are you the lead of the pack? So, you know what? As long as Andrew, your husband, who is a great guy and has the heart of gold, can
Yes.
somehow summon the power to be the bad cop, which I've never seen within him, you should be the fun parent.
It has to be my time. It has to be my time. So I'm
Well,
excited.
I just want to say I could not be more willing to babysit Sadie the Cavapoo
Thank
whenever
you.
you are tired of her, but I assume it will be many, many months before then.
Yeah, no, or never. Never tired, but maybe in need of a puppy sitter. So I will likely take you up on that eventually. Danny, thanks so much for being here and talking about what we can look forward to in 2021. Let's try to put that pessimism that we have bathed in 2020. Let's try to drain that tub and move into some better days, right?
Drain the tub and move into a hot tub, at least mentally, if
Yes.
you can't do it physically. Thank you
Of
so much.
optimism.
Thank
A
you.
hot tub of optimism.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm optimistic that Let's Talk About It is going to be YouTube's biggest show. Shout out to my mom, dad, brother, sister-in-law, Caitlin, and my wife, Kara. Thank you so much for having me on, and like and subscribe if you didn't say it yourself.
Absolutely, yes. Like and subscribe. And in the meantime, this has been Let's Talk About It. Probably our last show for 2020. So happy New Year, and we will talk to you next time in 2021.